Hey, this is Jerry, CEO of Philanthrowealth, coming back with another Finance Friday. Now, I want to take a break from the books I've been going over, and there's a realization and an idea that I had this week that I want to share with you that I think was a breakthrough moment for me. I hope it's the same for you. Make sure you watch this in full. Hey, welcome back to another Finance Friday. So I want to talk to you about achieving your wealth goals, right? Achieving financial independence. And just so that you guys are all tracking, financial independence, we define that as residual income that exceeds your generosity, your expenses, your taxes, and your savings. That's financial independence. It means that your residual income covers those things, which means that you also no longer have the obligation of trading your time for money, right? Doesn't mean you don't do anything. It just means you're not obligated. You're not stuck in that game anymore. If you want to do other things, you can. If you want to be creative, you can. If you want to do something and not think about, does this make money? Can I afford this, etc., you can. Now, the other thing that this allows you to do is it puts you in a position where you can securely invest in, more aggressive, kind of opportunistic deals, right? When you're getting into like venture capitalism, private equity, angel investing, that type of stuff where you might not make money, right? Angel investing, 95% failure rate. You're looking for those 5% that do well. Private equity, 70% failure rate. You're looking for the 30% that do well. So when I'm financially independent, my residual income covers my generosity, expenses, taxes, and savings, right? I have that base layer. If something happens, I'm not going to go backwards. Now, here's the thing. I'm going to put this on the whiteboard. The financial aspect of this is a means to an end. Simply a means to an end, right? So I want my residual income greater than my generosity, expenses, taxes, and savings, right? Now, what does that allow me to do? Okay, and I had this realization, this week. I'll kind of dive into the details of it, right? But too many times we misdefine freedom. Okay, we think freedom means no problems. We think freedom means barrier-free. There's no obstacles. There's no challenges. And the reality is that's not freedom. That's weakness. Freedom would mean I can do anything I want, right? Freedom is actually dependent on ability. I am able to eat organic food. I'm able to travel. I'm able to give. I'm able to live in the house I want to live in. That's freedom. Hey, you want to see a magic trick? Get a copy of my book, Blueprint to Financial Freedom. I know it's in front of my chest and my face because I want you focusing on the book and not me for a moment before you go back to focusing on me and the content. Right? So when I talk about financial freedom, it's ability that is enhanced by finance, by money. Right? So if I achieve residual income that exceeds my generosity, expenses, taxes, and savings, does that or does that not give me more ability? I can do more things, right? It unlocks more of my potential. So that's true freedom. It's freedom to do things, not freedom from things, right? So it's not freedom from a job because work, it's not an enslavement thing. The fact that you get paid means it's not. Real slaves didn't get paid. It was against their choice. They didn't have any other options. They would get killed if they left. That's not your job. You see the difference there? It's like, oh, you're a slave with your 9 to 5. No, you're not. Like, that's literally like a disrespectful to like people that actually went through slavery, right? Like they would probably give anything for a cushy salary and a benefits package and holidays every year. So for us to sit there bitching and moaning, oh, I have to work and I don't like what I do, then freaking go do something else. Nobody makes you do the thing you do. You do that. It's not like someone has a gun to your head and makes you go to that job. If you don't like it, go to a different job. So it's not freedom from a job, right? It's not freedom from responsibility. Oh, I can just play golf every day and be on the beach and this and that. It's not freedom from responsibility. It's freedom to do the things you want to do. So generosity, for example, I want to be able to give maybe more to my church. I need the freedom to do that, right? Expenses, like this is one that like we want to have the residual income, not just covering these, but enhancing each and every one of them. Right? So my generosity, like how does that enhance my ability to be generous? Not make it so I don't have to, right? What about expenses? Same things. How does it enhance my ability to spend money the way that I want to? Because money is only as good as what it's exchanged for. So if I practice 20 years of beans and rice and beans and rice and beans and rice and sacrifice and live below my means and not enjoy things in life, I built a habit is what I've done. So when I finally achieve financial independence, I'm going to live like a miser because that's what I trained myself to do for the last 2 decades. So financial independence, financial freedom is not freedom from expenses. It's like, no, actually able to spend the money on the things I want to spend it on, knowing that that's okay, knowing that I have income that's being produced every month no matter what. Okay, freedom to pay as much or as little in tax as I want to, right? Through tax strategies, freedom to save. So I can keep on building, right? So this freedom thing is severely misdefined. Okay, you have to still have challenges in your life. And this is why, we have this statistic of like when people retire early, they get Alzheimer's, they get dementia, these different illnesses, they die earlier. And I think it has less to do with like the fact that they have retirement money. I think it has more to do with the fact that their life has no more challenges in it. There's no reason for them to be strong and fight back. There's no, purpose that's getting them up and out of bed in the morning. They're not doing anything interesting anymore. Like compared to like a career, even if you're like, I hate my job, at least you're busy. I would rather be doing things I don't like than be bored. Okay, so you have to really like envision, what does the residual income, what does it get me? That's why it's RI greater than gets. It gets you something. Not only does that stand for generosity, expenses, taxes, and saving, it's savings that actually it gets you something. It gets you somewhere. Where does it get you, right? And so defining what does your life look like and envisioning that future and experiencing in your own mind, what is that going to be like? Okay, what does it get me to? Where am I living? Okay, who am I giving to? How am I being generous? What do I drive? What do I eat? Like all these little details of what your life will be like day to day when you achieve financial independence. Right? And maybe the taxes one is less exciting. Like I'm gonna envision a small tax bill. I mean, if you've got a large tax bill, you might envision a small tax bill. That might do it for you, right? But really thinking about what is life gonna look like. And here's the thing that I realized this week is not only is this freedom thing misdefined, and it's really just laziness in disguise for most people. I want you to think about like the founding fathers and the way the United States was founded and formed, right? We were trying to become free. Obviously, we didn't want to be with Britain anymore. We didn't want that system. We didn't want a king. We didn't want all those things. But it wasn't just freedom from that, right? Because you could just go from one king to the next, one bad situation to the next. It was freedom to something. They idealized what it would be. And so we have our Constitution. We have our Bill of Rights. We have founding fathers who were intellectual people envisioning what is this going to look like for future generations. Right? And that's what you've got to do with your wealth building is you've got to think about like and envision, like literally imagine it in your mind. What does it look like? What does it taste like? What does it smell like? Where am I going? Who am I with? Where do I spend my time? All of those things. Okay? Because one of the tricks of this world is that reality is agreement. Socially speaking, right? We've all experienced, I want you to think of a moment where the majority of a group you were in or watching agreed that something was true. Even if it wasn't, but they agreed that it was. Right? This is true. And so then all of a sudden, for example, back in the day, they thought that cocaine was good for medical stuff. They would tell, mothers to smoke cigarettes because it would help with their pregnancy. You had enough people agreeing that something was true and that agreement became reality, even if like objectively speaking in the actual world, that's like, no, that's not a bad idea. Enough people, it's their agreement that it's a good idea. So it becomes something that is real. Okay. Goals work exactly the same way, right? If you were to take all of the people, your friends, your family, the colleagues that you care about, and you were to, sit down in a room together and come up with something you wanted to accomplish, and you just continually agreed that it was real. And everyone agreed and everyone was focused on this thing happening. What is it going to look like? Like all of these different aspects of it and elements too. When is it going to happen? What does it feel like when we're there? All of that, right? It's more likely to happen. Why? Because it's collective agreement. This same phenomena that happens with cigarettes help with pregnancy, even though we know they don't now, but back in the day they did, that was something that became a reality. It was in newspapers, it was in advertisements, it was in magazines, right? So if this group agreement thing, or just agreement in general, works in that setting, wouldn't it work with your goals also? Now, here's the problem. It can't work if you don't know what they are. If you've not thought about where am I going, what does it look like, what does it feel like, who's there with me, all of these different elements I've mentioned in this video. If you've not thought about that, and you've not gotten really crystal clear, and I don't just mean words, I mean pictures. Like think about it, daydream about it, picture it, and really get clear on it. Like think of a time you wanted, maybe a car or a house or something like that where you could visibly see what it looked like. Did you or did you not kind of fantasize about it? You thought about it, you imagined it, you're like, wow, these ideas I have regarding this thing, I can see them in my mind's eye and it's crystal clear and it's something that matters and I look at it and I think about it and it makes me feel good when I do. Those things all contribute toward it happening. So if you don't know what it looks like and you're just like, I want passive income, which we're getting rid of that word, right? It's residual income because we went over last week, there's nothing about passive, right? If you're just like, I want residual income so that I don't have to work anymore, that's not a goal, right? That's an escapism. That's getting rid of something that you don't want to take responsibility for. Right? That's why I'm not into retirement. I don't care if you're 65 or you're 50 or whatever. The idea that you retire and you no longer add value to anybody, you don't produce anything, you don't have any problems anymore, you don't have any games you're playing or things that are interesting in your life, I think that's probably one of the worst things that you could possibly have happen to you. I'm not into it. So I'm sorry to say, if you're watching my content and you're like, I want help with retirement, like that's probably, I'm not the guy for that, right? Now, I can help you with building financial independence. I can help you with, building financial freedom and wealth, but I want to know, what are you going to do to contribute? Right? It's good people building wealth and making the world a better place, restoring those life essentials, promoting human welfare. Golfing doesn't do that. Going to the beach doesn't do that. And I'm not saying never do those things. Enjoy your life for sure, right? But it's bigger than just that. And you're not going to have fun for like 3 decades of doing those. Like, I get bored after like a couple hours at the beach. Every day for 30 years? I don't think so. I can't golf that long. There's not that much time I want to spend in an RV with anybody in the world. Okay, so I want you to consider that the goal can't just be financial independence. It needs to be very clear, and you need to know what it is with that clarity so that you can validate it by thinking about it and agreeing with it. Now, this gets into the second step of this. I'm going to pull up the whiteboard again because this is kind of a sequence that you're going to go through, right? So first thing is gaining clarity on what the thing is in the first place. What are the goals? What is life going to look like when I'm financially independent? And what is it going to look like along the way? Because I also don't agree with beans and rice and defer your whole life until you're retired. I think you should invest in things that produce residual income, and some of that residual income should enhance your life today, and some of it should be for the future, right? I love the fact that if I invest, I get to spend more on my housing. I get to spend more on my dates. I get to spend more on my travel. I get to spend more on my health. Like, those are all things that enhance my standard of living today. Okay, so clarity. Now and later clarity. Okay, next thing is you need to start validating your goals, like thinking about what's it going to be like when I'm there, like I mentioned so far. Third thing is you need to start agreeing. And I'll do this maybe deeper in a different video, but anyone that's ever wanted to achieve something they've never achieved before deals with doubt, right? What if it doesn't work? What if this happens? What if this goes wrong? What if that goes wrong? Realize you're using your imagination for bad things. You're imagining bad future outcomes. Okay, so let's take the chair idea of we've got all of our friends in a chair in the room together. We're all sitting there and we pick out a goal and we're like, we want to make this happen. And we talk about, okay, that's going to make it more likely to happen. What do you think would occur if everyone starts thinking about what it would be like if it doesn't happen? all of the reasons it won't work, all of the things that will go wrong, all of the doubts, all of the fears, all of the insecurities. Do you think that that idea is going to happen? Probably not. Now let's take like the propaganda with the cigarette thing, right? We know that that works. Communication to a large group over and over and over. You say it loud enough and enough times, it becomes true to them. Okay? You could do the same thing with like cars aren't safe. And you just go on a cars aren't safe campaign and all the fears about driving and all the reasons why it's risky and all the things that could go wrong. And you would have probably a fairly large group of people in the world who wouldn't drive anymore. Why? Because they have imagined bad future outcomes. This mechanism works with your goals. It works with your wealth building goals. If you're sitting there thinking about all the bad things, all the worries, all the shit that can go wrong, and you're like, oh, you just, go hide under your covers, basically, you're killing off your goals. You're using anti-imagination. You're using anti-validation. You're using anti-agreement to actually uncreate the very things you're saying that you want. Okay, we already know bad stuff's going to happen. The world doesn't need your help imagining bad stuff to happen. It's going to happen, right? Like when it happens, take it on. That's part of the challenges I mentioned. There's never freedom from challenges, right? But you don't need to be the one sitting there thinking up what they should be. Hey, what's up? Jerry here. I just wanted to give you another reminder. Grab my book, Blueprint to Financial Freedom. It's going to be one of the best books you have ever read on finance. I can promise you that. You're going to love it. It's also a free offer. So if you go to jerryfetta.com/B2F promo, you can get that now. Right? So if your goal is, I want residual income that exceeds generosity, expenses, taxes, savings, all this stuff so that I can live my life this way and I've got this description, and then I've got two roads I can go down. I can either envision and get clear on that, validate it, agree with it, making it real, that concept with the group and coming up with the goal, right? Or I can go down the other road. I know what it is, I've got clarity, I validated what it looks like, and then I disagree with it. Well, what about this? Well, what about that? Well, what if that goes wrong? Well, what could happen if this? And all of a sudden you're actually uncreating its existence. Okay? You've got to spend the energy creating it, agreeing with it, imagining in a positive fashion. I've never achieved a goal because I thought of all the bad things that could prevent me from achieving it. Never. It's not a thing, right? When they come up, go into problem solving mode, handle them, good. But the goals that I've achieved, it's because I focused on what will happen the entire time. I focused on what I want it to look like. What if it does work? You see, like you can have two different outcomes here. It's like you can be ultra prepared for everything that might go wrong, but let me ask you, are you prepared for if it goes right? Are you prepared for if it does happen? And I think that's the bigger conversation to have. I think a lot of people are prepared for all the worries and doubts and fears, and they're not prepared for the thing to actually occur. And because they're not prepared for the thing to actually occur, it doesn't actually occur. No matter how full their little tool pouches of Band-Aids and wrenches and hammers to fix all the boo-boos and things that might go wrong along the way. That's awesome. You're not going to get there if you're not prepared for it to happen. None of this stuff will matter. So you just sat there daydreaming about negative stuff for no reason because you didn't ever dream about the positive. So I know I'm spending a lot of time on this, but I want to really stress it's not just numbers. Okay? Numbers are the gas for the car. It's the fuel that gets you there. It makes the journey possible. You still need to know where you're going. You need to know what it looks like. You need to believe you're going to get there. You need to be prepared for when you do arrive. And you can't just be like, let me think of everything that could break in the car on the way. Because you won't get there if that's what you do. You will stay in your driveway. Right? Or every little noise you hear, oh, I need to pull over now. And then you're going to take forever and never get there. So guys, you've got to agree with your goals. You've got to envision your goals. And this is not like walking on coals and kumbaya and all this kind of manifestation stuff. I'm not into that, right? I'm just telling you, if you tell me, hey, I want to drive to Connecticut, for example, and you don't have a map and you don't know what Connecticut looks like and you've never been there and you don't actually have like the plan in place for what you're going to do once you're there, and instead you're just like, all of the dangers that could happen to you on the roadway to Connecticut, I'm telling you, you're not going to get to Connecticut. And if you do, you're not going to know you're there when you arrive. You're going to leave because you don't know what it looks like. You didn't think about it. You didn't think about it, right? So This whole financial independence thing, there's the math component, there's the financial component, but the part that's the most important, and I tell this to all of my members, I tell this to all of my clients, you need to be clear on what your life looks like. Visualize it, write it down, like really be intentional about that, because most of it is not freedom to that we were originally motivated by. Oftentimes, including myself, I was originally motivated by freedom from. I grew up poor, I didn't want to be poor anymore. Okay, that's not a very big goal. That's not a good enough reason. Like, you need better reasons, and you need to know what those reasons look like. So that's what I've got for you today on this week's Finance Friday. Thank you for watching. Make sure you like, share, subscribe. Comment below, by the way, if this resounds with you, if you have any questions. I'll see you next time. Hey, this is Jerry Fetta here. I want to thank you for watching my video, watching my content. I hope you enjoyed it. If you would like to learn more about the blueprint to financial freedom and how you can achieve passive income that exceeds your savings, your expenses, your taxes, your generosity, and build wealth like the top 1%, I want to encourage you, grab a copy of my book, The Blueprint to Financial Freedom. You can go to jerryfetta.com/B2F promo, or you can click the link in the description of the video here. The copy is free. You cover your shipping. We'll send the book out to you, and we'll send you an email with a bunch of great bonus material also for free. Get the book, subscribe to the channel. I'll see you on my next content.